What does succession planning mean? By the end of this video, I'm going to equip you with how to build a business that can run and grow with or without you, that is ready for transition. Every owner is on a steaming train headed towards transition. What's the difference between a business and a job? Business runs without you. All right, so when we think about this idea of succession, we want to think about it just very pragmatically. I always look at the word, and I really like the words. When we put succession, we obviously see this in here, so that's an obvious one to look at. But I want you to think a little bit more deeply about this idea of succession and really think of it in terms of transition, because that's what's happening. Because you can transition a lot of different organizations, entities, relationships, because you are doing that. You're transitioning relationships, you're transitioning process. But here's why I really like this word transition, because it forces you to think as something outside of yourself. I'm going to take something outside of myself and get it into somebody else. Therefore, it requires that the things that are inside of yourself come out to some degree. And so we've got to get all of that knowledge in order to do one thing: equip. So we're going to hub our entire conversation around this one word of putting equipment into other people. I want you to think of it like a tool belt. So somebody comes into your business, or somebody you want to transition your business to, and they come in and they have a tool belt. Well, some people's tool belts are empty. There's no tools in them. They've never been equipped. Other people have tools, but they're all kind of all over the place. They don't make sense. They got 4 of the same hammers, but they don't have these 3 other tools that they need. So I'm going to talk about the 4 types of people that you need to equip in preparation for succession, and that will help us to understand how we get ready for this idea of transition. Group number 1 is your team. Too many times we just wake up and blow right past the team. No clarity, no instruction, just, hey, go do this, and we move on. Or we over micromanage that thing. Hey, do this and do it this way, and I'm going to watch you right now. Watch you again. Watch you. Just like, stop, right? And so that's not equipment of the team. Equipment of the team is asking the right questions at the right time and equipping them with the right tools to get their work done. And then being in a position where you're going to constantly empower what they're looking to do. So I want to give you some tools to be able to equip the team. First is going to be more of a mindset tool. Ready? So the mindset tool is what we call the RPMs of great leadership. The RPMs of great leadership. And what I mean by that is repetition, predictability, and meaning. If you as a leader are repetitive, you're predictable in your repetitiveness, meaning you're not volatile in all that you do, but you're predictable, and you have meaning in what you're doing, meaning you bring some value and there's some energy and some life into what you're doing, then you're going to be better placed to go equip your team for what they need. Now, there's another element of this that we can equip our team with, and that's what we call the 4 Ps. So these are purpose, people, process, and profit. What this does is give you a framework to be able to do repetitively, predictably, and meaningfully. So if we give our team tools of purpose, a vision story, mission statement, unique core values, culture that we're going and reviewing repetitively, predictably, and meaningfully, now we're giving them equipment. There's tools in their belt. We could take the people, the second of the 4 Ps, and equip them with org charts, job roles, scorecards, hiring processes. Then we start to equip them with that repetitively, predictably, and meaningfully. Same with process, same with profit. So we look at those things, and then with the process side of things, we always come down and look at the 4 core. Every team member needs to know what needs to be done in marketing, in sales, in operations, in administration. So that's what we call the 4 core systems: marketing, sales, ops, and admin. And in the 4 core systems, if we do those repetitively, predictably, and meaningfully, it leads to an equipped team at that point. I think too many owners think of an equipped team as a rah-rah team, or an equipped team as, hey, I gave you the thing, or I told you once, and now I'm moving on. Or we follow under this myth of what I call the common sense myth. Well, it's just common sense. I mean, they should be able to do it. Just remember this: what's common to you is not common to me. We could have grown up in the same town, we could have grown up in the same house, and yet we may not share the same sense that is common to all people. And so don't fall under that myth. We need to be intentional. So replace common sense with intentionality of repetition, predictability, and meaning. So when we have the 4 core systems of marketing, sales, ops, and admin, we have the 4 Ps of purpose, people, process, and profit. We can do that with repetition, predictability, and meaning. Now all of a sudden we have a team that is equipped to transition into, and in some cases your succession plan may be selling your business or transitioning your business to your current employees. All right, the second group of people that you need to equip in preparation for transition is yourself. This is crazy to think about, but follow the 80-20 as it relates to businesses. 80% of the businesses that go up to sell never sell. only 20% of them sell. Why? Is because of you. You're not prepared. And so we have a whole, as a SEPA advisor, we have a whole personal readiness scorecard that we will walk through, about 22 items that we walk through to make sure that you've got a personal plan around things like how are you going to generate revenue in the future? What are you going to do with the money that you might take off the table when you actually transition the business? What kind of personal plans do you have? What kind of hobby plans do you have? Most owners get to a point where they're ready for transition and then they freak out. They don't know where their paycheck's going to come from, and more importantly than that, they don't know where their purpose is going to come from here on out. And so you've got to have a personal plan laid out for what you're going to do when that day comes, because for many business owners, the last 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 years, your entire identity, or at least the majority of it, has been bound up by this one business. The third group of people that we need to get equipped and ready for transition is the market. So whatever that market is, it could be the market of your employees that you're going to be transitioning to. It could be an outside market that somebody may come by, a strategic buyer or somebody like that. And so the market of your business is who we need to equip. In other words, when they come in to, quote, buy the business, what are they buying? Because what they don't want to buy is everything that's locked up in your head right here. They don't want to buy you. And many times when somebody comes to buy a business, what they do is they offer something called an earn out. And what that means is, I don't really want to buy this business without you in it. Therefore, I'm going to contractually mandate that you stay in this business for the next 5 years. And I'm going to give you about a third of your asking price. And every year demand that you grow the business by 30%. And if you do that, then I'll give you the next payout and the next payout and the next payout. And what happens to business owners like you in an earn-out situation is you lose motivation because you're no longer in charge. And number two, you get really frustrated because you realize that the mountain they gave you to achieve to get those next payouts, you may never hit them because they're unreasonable. But you were so desperate in the moment. Why? It's because you didn't have a transition plan, because the team wasn't equipped and you weren't equipped based on outside advisors and voices speaking into you. You need to have third-party voices helping you understand the meaning and the definition of transition. That's why I'm glad you came here, so we can help you understand that. So when we talk about the meaning of succession planning, remember, it's equipping your team, equipping yourself, equipping the market, and then the fourth group that we're going to equip is your customer. If a market comes to buy your business, they are presuming that your customer is going to stay, or else they're not going to come buy the business, because the customer is the one that funds the revenue of that business. And so in order to do that, what you want to do is minimize customer attrition, and you want to maximize customer value so that this new group of people that walk in, whether it's your team or your market, it's usually always going to be your team to some degree, but they might be the market as well buying the business from you, so that they don't fall into this trap where customers start to leave the business because you're not there. That's part of the way that we start to train the customer that you're not going to be there. And so the more that they're dependent on you, the less value you're going to get from the market, the less engagement you're going to get from the team, and the less your customers are actually going to stay when they go along. So we've got to start thinking, how do we prepare the customer? One of the best ways to prepare your customer is to go back to your 4 Ps and your 4 core. Because if we build out the purpose, people, process, and profit within the 4 core of marketing, sales, ops, and admin, now we have equipped our team to be able to run the business, and our team can start to engage more one-on-one with the customer. And we can say things like this: hey man, are you going to build my house? And you go, man, you don't want me building your house. I'm not building houses every day. What you want is this team building your house, because they are equipped. We train over and over again. We have to do this a lot in our business. So we have a team of 12 full-time professionals, and 7 of those are full-time business coaches and advisors. And you can imagine the first couple of years when it was just me, people would go, hey, yeah, you're going to be my coach, right? And I was like, you got no other choice. I'm the only guy around. But then as we started to add coaches, people would come and go, hey, you're going to be my coach, right? And I had to get very comfortable with going, no, I'm not, and I don't think you want me to be. Because the coaches we have are far more trained than I am, even though I wrote the content. We are training over and over again. So our team goes through about 80 to 100 hours of training every year. So they really are getting more reps, and they have far more coaching meetings than I do, because I'm out developing new content and teaching, doing those sorts of things. And so what are you doing as the owner to equip your team to engage with the customer so that when you're gone, because you exited to the market or to your team, now they're not dependent on you, they're dependent on this team. So what succession planning means is this idea of equipping. Equipping what? To transition. Equipping the team, equipping yourself, equipping the customer, and equipping your market to be ready for that transition. Hey, I want you to take a clear next step that I've prepared for you. It's a video. If you go click on the link in the description below, it'll actually walk you through how to develop a vision so that it sets the foundation and the groundwork for you to start working on the 4 Ps and the 4 core systems, which then give you all the tools that you're going to need to embed into your team so that it can impact all of these other things that you want to ultimately equip with. So go click on that link below and make some time to go down there and write out your vision story of what you see. My name's Scott Beebe. We work with business owners 3 to 100 employees to liberate you from chaos to make time for what matters most.